Before Luigi Mangione made headlines for allegedly targeting CEOs, another figure gripped the nation with fear, Ted Kaczynski, the infamous Unabomber. While Mangione's alleged actions shocked modern society, they appear to have drawn inspiration from a man whose campaign of terror began long before. The Unabomber didn't stalk his victims or pull a trigger. Instead, he waged a silent war through meticulously crafted bombs, delivered in unsuspecting packages that turned the act of opening mail into a life-or-death gamble. Ted Kaczynski's reign of terror spanned nearly 2 decades, a slow-burning nightmare that left investigators scrambling and the public questioning the safety of their everyday lives. From university professors to airline executives, no one seemed safe. His targets were as varied as they were deliberate, each bomb a cryptic message, each explosion an unspoken manifesto. The chilling parallels between Kaczynski's ideology and the alleged motivations of Luigi Mangione demand closer examination. While separated by decades, the connection between the two lies in their shared disdain for industrial society and its power brokers. To understand Mangione's story, one must first delve into the life, mind, and methods of the Unabomber, a man whose name became synonymous with fear, isolation, and a perverse intellectualism that justified his violence. Let's go back to the beginning, to a small cabin in the Montana wilderness where Kaczynski's transformation from reclusive genius to domestic terrorist took shape. His story isn't just about the bombs he built but the manifesto he wrote, a manifesto that continues to echo in the dark corners of extremist thought, inspiring individuals like Mangione to this day. In this series, we'll uncover how Kaczynski's philosophy of resistance against technological progress sowed the seeds for an ideology that refuses to fade. We'll unravel the mystery of how one man's war against the modern world became a blueprint for others, leaving a legacy as explosive as the devices he mailed. The story of the Unabomber is one of contradictions, a man of immense intellect who chose isolation, a killer who justified his violence through philosophy. His journey from a child prodigy to a feared domestic terrorist is as perplexing as it is horrifying. And yet, for all the destruction he caused, Kaczynski's writings remain a disturbing touchstone for those who share his discontent with society. In Luigi Mangione's case, his fascination with Kaczynski's ideology led him down a similarly dark path. It raises the question, what is it about Kaczynski's worldview that continues to inspire such devotion, even decades after his capture? And, more importantly, how do we confront the ongoing influence of dangerous ideologies in an age where information spreads faster than ever? As we peel back the layers of Kaczynski's life and the manifesto that defined him, the connections between him and Mangione will become clearer. The parallels between their motives and their methods are too striking to ignore. But while Mangione's actions may seem like a modern echo of the Unabomber's violence, they also highlight the enduring struggle to reconcile technological progress with human freedom. The question that lingers is this: are we witnessing the ripple effects of the Unabomber's ideology? Or is there something even more deeply broken in the fabric of society that allows such radical ideas to take root? As we delve deeper into the life of Ted Kaczynski, we begin to uncover not just the man behind the manifesto but the seeds of an ideology that has outlived him and found new voices to carry on his legacy. At the heart of the Unabomber's terror campaign was industrial society and its future, a 35,000-word manifesto that became his calling card and his most infamous legacy. Ted Kaczynski, the reclusive terrorist, meticulously crafted the document over years, pouring his frustrations and fears about modern society into every line. On the surface, it might seem like the ramblings of a paranoid mind, but to those who feel alienated or oppressed by the technological world, it's a blueprint for rebellion. The manifesto argued that the rapid advancement of technology was eroding human freedom, enslaving individuals to an industrial system that cared only for efficiency and control. Kaczynski believed this dehumanization had dire consequences, stripping people of their autonomy and sense of purpose. His critique extended beyond machines and industry, targeting the institutions and power structures that he claimed enforced this oppressive system. But the manifesto wasn't just a critique, it was a call to arms. Kaczynski claimed that the only way to restore human freedom was to dismantle the technological system entirely, even if it meant using violence. To him, the destruction of industrial society wasn't just necessary, it was inevitable. He warned that failure to act would result in humanity being fully subsumed by the machine, a future he found unbearable to imagine. Kaczynski's manifesto wasn't simply mailed out randomly, it was weaponized. His bombs targeted individuals he deemed complicit in the perpetuation of this system: university professors, airline executives, and researchers at the forefront of technological innovation. Each attack was meticulously planned to send a message, with the manifesto serving as both an explanation and a justification for his actions. The manifesto was published in 1995, but only after Kaczynski made an unprecedented demand. He promised to halt his bombings if a major newspaper or magazine would publish his writings in full. This decision put the FBI and media organizations in an ethical quandary. Should they grant a terrorist a platform to spread his ideology in exchange for an end to the violence? In a controversial move, the Washington Post, with the support of the FBI, chose to publish it. The publication of Industrial Society and its Future marked a turning point in the case. On the one hand, it exposed Kaczynski's ideas to a global audience, sparking intense debate about the validity of his critiques and the ethics of giving him such a stage. On the other hand, it ultimately led to his capture. Kaczynski's brother, David, recognized the writing style and alerted authorities, leading to Ted's arrest in his remote Montana cabin. Yet, while Kaczynski was apprehended, his ideas were not silenced. The manifesto, available online and in print, has continued to circulate and inspire. Its dark allure lies in its stark critique of modernity, one that resonates with those who feel disillusioned by the relentless march of progress. For individuals like Luigi Mangione, it became more than a historical document, it became a guide. The chilling power of Kaczynski's manifesto is its ability to frame destruction as a form of liberation. It turns fear and frustration into a cause, giving those who feel powerless a justification for violence. It's this very reasoning that makes the manifesto so dangerous and its legacy so enduring. In Mangione's case, investigators found direct references to industrial society and its future in his writings. He allegedly cited Kaczynski's ideas as a foundation for his own discontent, using them to rationalize his actions against what he perceived as an oppressive system. While the scope and scale of Mangione's violence differ from Kaczynski's, the ideological connection between the two is undeniable. The manifesto's continuing influence speaks to its unnerving universality. Kaczynski's critique of technology, while extreme, taps into a shared anxiety about the rapid pace of change in modern life. For some, it's a warning about what could happen if these concerns are ignored. For others, like Mangione, it's a justification to take action, no matter the cost. As we delve further into the life of Ted Kaczynski, we begin to understand how a recluse's manifesto could inspire not just fear, but a dangerous fascination. And in Luigi Mangione's case, it's a reminder that the seeds of radicalism, once planted, can sprout in the unlikeliest of places. To understand how Ted Kaczynski became one of the most infamous domestic terrorists in American history, we must first unravel the enigma of his early life. Kaczynski was not born into infamy. In fact, his story began in Chicago, Illinois, in 1942, where he showed early signs of brilliance. Described as a quiet and reserved child, young Ted excelled academically, skipping multiple grades and earning the nickname the smartest boy in town. By age 16, he was accepted into Harvard University, one of the most prestigious schools in the world. It was here, among the elite minds of his generation, that the seeds of his radical discontent may have been planted. At Harvard, Kaczynski participated in a psychological study led by Dr. Henry A. Murray, a program later criticized for its harsh and unethical methods. The study reportedly subjected participants to intense stress and humiliation, which some speculate left a lasting scar on Kaczynski's psyche. Despite this, Kaczynski excelled academically, earning a degree in mathematics and later pursuing a doctorate at the University of Michigan. His work was groundbreaking, so much so that his dissertation, focused on geometric functions, was considered too complex for many of his professors to fully understand. By his early 20s, Kaczynski became the youngest assistant professor of mathematics ever hired at the University of California, Berkeley. But despite his academic brilliance, Kaczynski was deeply unhappy. He found little satisfaction in the structured, hierarchical world of academia and resigned from his position after just 2 years. The decision to leave marked a turning point in his life, a rejection of conventional success and the beginning of his descent into isolation and radicalization. By 1971, Kaczynski had retreated to a remote cabin in the woods of Lincoln, Montana. Measuring just 10 by 12 feet, the cabin had no electricity or running water. Here, Kaczynski sought to live a life free from the technological advancements he had come to despise. But this retreat was not an escape. It was a battleground. From this isolated location, Kaczynski began his war against what he saw as the industrial machine, a force he believed was destroying human freedom and the environment. The shift from disillusioned recluse to domestic terrorist did not happen overnight. For years, Kaczynski lived off the land, engaging in small acts of sabotage against nearby developments encroaching on his wilderness. But over time, his frustrations grew, as did his determination to strike back against what he saw as the forces of modern oppression. In 1978, Kaczynski launched his first attack, planting a homemade bomb at Northwestern University. The package injured a campus police officer, marking the beginning of a nearly 2-decade campaign of terror. Over the years, his bombs became more sophisticated and his targets more deliberate. airlines, universities, computer stores, and corporate executives. Kaczynski's attacks killed 3 people and injured 23, leaving a nation gripped by fear. What made Kaczynski especially dangerous was not just his capacity for violence, but his intellectual rigor. He meticulously planned each attack, leaving little evidence behind. His bombs were handcrafted with incredible precision, often using scrap materials that made tracing them nearly impossible. The FBI, stumped by his elusive methods, dubbed him the Unabomber, short for University and Airline Bomber. Yet, Kaczynski's story is not just one of violence, it is also a story of contradictions. Here was a man who shunned modern society, yet relied on its tools to wage his war. A man of immense intelligence, who used his gifts to sow destruction rather than creation. And, perhaps most unsettling of all, a man whose critique of technology, though extreme, resonated with deeper anxieties about the pace of progress and the cost of modern life. Kaczynski's transformation from Harvard prodigy to America's most wanted domestic terrorist is a cautionary tale about the thin line between brilliance and madness. His descent into radicalism was fueled by a unique combination of personal disillusionment, intellectual obsession, and a deep-seated hatred for a world he believed had betrayed humanity's natural way of life. This complex and deeply disturbing story of the man behind the Unabomber not only provides a glimpse into his psyche but also sheds light on the dark allure of his ideology. It's an ideology that, decades later, found a new vessel in Luigi Mangione, a stark reminder that the legacy of violence and radical thought can echo far beyond the life of its creator. The nation's fear of the Unabomber was not born overnight. It grew with each meticulously crafted explosive device that appeared without warning. Between 1978 and 1995, Ted Kaczynski carried out 16 bombings, leaving a trail of destruction that spanned universities, airlines, and corporate offices. His method was as chilling as it was ingenious. Homemade bombs, mailed or placed directly, designed to maim, kill, and terrify. The first attack occurred on May 25, 1978, when a package was discovered at Northwestern University. The package exploded when a security officer attempted to open it, leaving him with injuries to his hand. Though relatively small in scale, this bombing set the stage for what would become a years-long campaign of terror. The Unabomber's targets were calculated and symbolic, individuals and institutions that he believed epitomized the industrial system he so despised. As the attacks continued, the bombs grew more sophisticated and deadly. In 1980, an explosive device was placed in the cargo hold of an American Airlines flight, injuring 12 passengers when it emitted smoke and forced an emergency landing. This attack elevated the Unabomber's status from a localized threat to a national one. The FBI launched an investigation, codenamed Unabomb, but early leads were scarce. What set Kaczynski apart from other domestic terrorists was the precision of his work. His bombs were intricate, handcrafted devices made from scavenged materials. Despite their crude appearance, they were lethal and nearly impossible to trace. Each bomb contained a unique set of components, including wood, nails, and sometimes handwritten notes. These notes, marked with the initials FC for Freedom Club, were the only clue to the bomber's identity or ideology. The Unabomber's first fatal attack occurred in 1985, when a bomb sent to Hugh Scruton, the owner of a computer store in Sacramento, California, exploded and killed him. This marked a turning point in Kaczynski's campaign. No longer content with merely injuring his targets, he began to take lives, believing that his message required the ultimate sacrifice. In the same year, another bomb severely injured a graduate student at the University of California, Berkeley. Investigators noticed a pattern. The targets were often associated with technology or academic research, fields Kaczynski viewed as complicit in the destruction of human freedom. One of the most chilling aspects of Kaczynski's campaign was its randomness. There was no clear geographic focus or timeline to his attacks, which kept the FBI guessing and the public on edge. Anyone receiving a package could be a target, and the lack of predictability heightened the psychological toll of his terror. By the late 1980s, the Unabomber's notoriety was cemented, but the FBI remained no closer to catching him. In 1993, he struck again, this time killing Thomas Mosser, an advertising executive in New Jersey. A year later, he murdered Gilbert Murray, the president of a timber industry lobbying group. These high-profile attacks underscored the ideological nature of his violence. To Kaczynski, these men represented the forces he sought to destroy: corporate greed and environmental exploitation. The media played a significant role in amplifying the Unabomber's terror. Every new bombing was headline news, and the growing fear among the public only added to his mystique. People began to question whether technological progress was worth the cost, a chilling validation of Kaczynski's message. The FBI's investigation into the Unabomber became one of the longest and most expensive in the Bureau's history. Despite an extensive task force, including hundreds of agents and analysts, the case remained cold for years. Kaczynski's ability to evade capture was a testament to his meticulous planning and his isolated lifestyle, which left no digital or paper trail. The tide finally turned in 1995, not through forensic evidence or a breakthrough in the field, but because of Kaczynski's own decision to step into the spotlight. His manifesto, Industrial Society and Its Future, was published in the Washington Post and the New York Times, per his demand. He promised to stop the bombings if his work was published, a gamble the FBI ultimately agreed to take. Ironically, it was this move that led to his downfall. Ted Kaczynski's brother, David, recognized the language and tone of the manifesto, which matched letters and writings from Ted. Overwhelmed with guilt but determined to stop the violence, David alerted authorities. In April 1996, FBI agents raided Ted Kaczynski's remote cabin in Montana and arrested him. Inside, they found bomb-making materials, journals detailing his crimes, and an original draft of the manifesto. Though Kaczynski's reign of terror ended, the psychological scars of his campaign endured. His ability to paralyze the nation through fear highlighted the vulnerability of even the most powerful societies. And while Kaczynski is now behind bars, his ideas and methods continue to inspire a new generation of radicals, including Luigi Mangione. As we delve further, we'll see how Kaczynski's ideology didn't just fade away with his arrest. It found dangerous new life in those seeking to emulate his violent legacy. April 3, 1996, marked the day the FBI finally captured the elusive Unabomber. After nearly 2 decades of terrorizing the nation, Ted Kaczynski was arrested at his remote cabin in Lincoln, Montana. The operation came after years of fruitless investigation and a breakthrough provided by his brother, David Kaczynski, who recognized Ted's writing in the infamous manifesto, Industrial Society and Its Future. The arrest was a surreal moment for law enforcement and the public. Kaczynski's tiny, hand-built cabin was both a symbol of his isolation and a chilling glimpse into his twisted genius. Inside, agents discovered a trove of evidence: completed bombs, bomb components, handwritten journals detailing his crimes, and the original draft of the manifesto. The journals contained meticulous records of each attack, written with cold precision. They provided a roadmap of his campaign of terror and a window into the mind of a man who believed his actions were justified. Yet, the man who emerged from the cabin didn't fit the typical image of a domestic terrorist. Ted Kaczynski was frail, disheveled, and eerily calm. He offered no resistance during his arrest, maintaining a stony silence that only deepened the aura of mystery surrounding him. The nation watched as the FBI paraded their long-sought suspect before the cameras. The case had consumed resources and attention for nearly 18 years, making Kaczynski's capture a moment of both relief and reflection. While law enforcement celebrated a hard-fought victory, the broader public was left grappling with unsettling questions about Kaczynski's ideology and its implications. As the evidence against him mounted, Kaczynski faced multiple federal charges, including murder, attempted murder, and the use of explosives. In January 1998, after initially pleading not guilty, Kaczynski attempted to represent himself in court. He argued that he was mentally competent but mistrusted the legal system to fairly present his case. This mistrust ultimately led to a dramatic clash with his legal team, whom he accused of attempting to portray him as insane to avoid the death penalty. The trial never proceeded to a full courtroom spectacle. Instead, Kaczynski accepted a plea deal to avoid execution. On January 22, 1998, he pleaded guilty to all charges and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He was sent to the federal ADX Florence Supermax prison in Colorado, where he remains to this day. But even in confinement, Kaczynski's influence didn't end. His manifesto, which had been widely circulated following its publication, continued to inspire debate and, disturbingly, acts of violence. For some, Kaczynski's critique of technological progress resonated deeply. His warning about the dehumanizing effects of industrial society struck a nerve, particularly among those who felt alienated by the rapid pace of change. This resonance is what makes Kaczynski's legacy so dangerous. While most view him as a deranged criminal, others see him as a prophet, a tragic figure who resorted to violence to make his voice heard. The FBI has noted that Kaczynski remains a figure of fascination for extremists and lone wolf actors, some of whom have explicitly cited his work as an inspiration for their own actions. One of the most unsettling aspects of Kaczynski's case is how easily his ideology can be misinterpreted as a call to arms. His manifesto, while deeply flawed and morally indefensible, contains critiques of modern society that are difficult to ignore. This duality, a terrorist with ideas that resonate, ensures that his story remains a cautionary tale about the power of radical thought. Luigi Mangione, the man who would later use Kaczynski's ideology as a justification for his own crimes, exemplifies this disturbing legacy. Mangione's writings reportedly echo many of the themes found in the manifesto: a fear of technological domination, a hatred of industrial society, and a belief that violence is the only solution. While Mangione's actions differ in scope and scale, the ideological thread connecting him to Kaczynski is undeniable. For law enforcement, Kaczynski's case highlighted the complexities of combating domestic terrorism. The Unabomber's ability to evade capture for so long exposed significant gaps in investigative strategies, particularly in cases involving lone actors. His arrest and subsequent trial also raised ethical questions about how society should handle individuals who commit atrocities in the name of deeply held beliefs. In the years since his capture, Kaczynski has remained unrepentant. He has continued to defend his actions as a necessary response to what he views as an existential threat to humanity. From his prison cell, he has corresponded with admirers and critics alike, further cementing his reputation as a figure of both revulsion and fascination. As we delve deeper into the legacy of the Unabomber, it becomes clear that his story is not just about one man's descent into violence. It is a broader commentary on the fragile balance between progress and ethics, freedom and control. And for those like Mangione who seek to emulate Kaczynski, it serves as both a blueprint and a warning of the devastating consequences of ideological extremism. At the heart of Ted Kaczynski's campaign of terror was his infamous manifesto, Industrial Society and Its Future. Published in 1995 under the agreement that he would cease his attacks, the 35,000-word document was both a declaration of his beliefs and a justification for his violence. Despite its origins in unspeakable crimes, the manifesto has had a lingering influence, sparking debates about technology, freedom, and the cost of progress. The manifesto's central thesis is clear. Industrial society and its rapid technological advancements have eroded human freedom and autonomy. Kaczynski argued that the natural balance between humans and their environment had been irrevocably disrupted, leaving individuals enslaved to an impersonal, industrialized system. According to him, this system stripped people of meaningful purpose, reduced them to mere cogs in a machine, and imposed psychological suffering through its relentless demands. What made the manifesto particularly unsettling was its mix of well-articulated arguments and chilling rationalizations for violence. Kaczynski's critique of modern life resonated with some readers, especially those disillusioned with the effects of globalization, industrialization, and environmental degradation. Phrases like "the technological system will destroy itself" and "technology is a more powerful social force than the aspiration for freedom" have since been quoted by those who share his fears about the unchecked rise of technology. The manifesto also reveals Kaczynski's stark view of human progress. He believed that technological advancements were not only irreversible but also inherently destructive. In his eyes, the industrial system was self-perpetuating, constantly demanding innovation at the expense of personal freedom and ecological balance. His proposed solution, a radical, violent upheaval of industrial society, was as extreme as it was horrifying. When the Washington Post and the New York Times agreed to publish the manifesto, it marked a turning point in the Unabomber case. The decision was controversial. Critics argued that it set a dangerous precedent, giving a platform to a terrorist and legitimizing his ideology. However, the FBI saw it as a calculated risk. By making the manifesto public, they hoped someone might recognize its author. The gamble paid off. Among the thousands who read the manifesto, one person recognized its tone and ideas: David Kaczynski, Ted's brother. David and his wife Linda had long suspected that Ted's increasingly paranoid letters reflected dangerous beliefs. After comparing the manifesto to Ted's earlier writings, they became convinced that he was the Unabomber. Despite the emotional turmoil, David made the difficult decision to contact the FBI, providing the break investigators desperately needed. While the manifesto led to Kaczynski's capture, its publication also amplified his message. For years after his arrest, Industrial Society and Its Future circulated among academics, activists, and extremists. Some viewed it as a prophetic warning about the dangers of technological overreach, while others dismissed it as the ravings of a madman. The manifesto's enduring relevance lies in its ability to tap into real fears about modern life. The rise of automation, surveillance, and environmental crises has only intensified debates about the role of technology in society. In many ways, Kaczynski's critique foreshadowed issues that dominate contemporary discourse, such as the ethical implications of artificial intelligence, the erosion of privacy, and the ecological costs of industrialization. However, the manifesto is inseparable from the violence that accompanied it. Kaczynski's deliberate targeting of innocent people undermines any legitimacy his ideas might have had. His victims, scientists, business executives, and bystanders, became collateral damage in a war they never chose to fight. This stark reality tempers any philosophical consideration of his work, reminding us that his words were written in blood. The manifesto's dual legacy, as both a cautionary critique and a terrorist justification, has made it a source of fascination and fear. In the years following its publication, it inspired not only debate but also imitation. Lone wolf extremists and anti-technology radicals have cited Kaczynski's ideas as a blueprint for their own actions. His manifesto, while not widely embraced, found an audience among those disillusioned with modern society. Among them was Luigi Mangione. As investigators pieced together Mangione's writings and motivations, they discovered unsettling parallels with the Unabomber's ideology. Mangione reportedly admired Kaczynski's rejection of industrial society and echoed his belief that technology posed an existential threat to humanity. While Mangione's methods differed, his worldview bore the unmistakable influence of Kaczynski's manifesto. Kaczynski's manifesto stands as a dark testament to the power of ideas. It is a reminder that words, even those written from the depths of isolation and madness, can ripple outward, shaping minds and influencing actions long after their author is silenced. As we move forward, we'll explore how the Unabomber's ideology continues to cast a shadow, not only through its direct influence on figures like Mangione but also in the broader cultural anxieties it reflects. Ted Kaczynski's arrest in 1996 may have ended his campaign of terror, but it didn't extinguish the ideological fire he had ignited. The industrial society and its future manifesto, despite its violent origins, found its way into the hands of those seeking answers to the existential questions Kaczynski posed. Over time, his ideas transcended their criminal context, seeping into various subcultures and sparking debates about the cost of technological progress. The most unsettling legacy of Kaczynski's manifesto is its appeal to extremists. Among anti-technology radicals, environmental militants, and even certain online communities, Kaczynski has become a figure of both reverence and infamy. Some admire his ability to articulate the alienation and ecological harm they associate with industrial society. Others see him as a martyr to a cause misunderstood by the mainstream, choosing to focus on his critique rather than his violent methods. This duality makes Kaczynski a dangerous figure. His manifesto has been cited by individuals and groups attempting to justify acts of violence or sabotage in the name of protecting humanity or nature. These adherents, often referred to as eco-terrorists or neo-Luddites, draw inspiration from his warning that unchecked technological advancement could spell doom for human freedom and the planet. One of the most prominent examples of this influence came in the form of Luigi Mangione, a man whose actions shocked the nation decades after Kaczynski's arrest. Investigators found striking similarities between Mangione's writings and Kaczynski's manifesto. Mangione's belief that industrial society was poisoning the planet and enslaving humanity mirrored the Unabomber's core thesis. What set Mangione apart, however, was his focus on corporate executives, targets he deemed complicit in advancing harmful technologies. The ripple effect of Kaczynski's ideas extends beyond isolated individuals. His manifesto has been discussed in academic circles, with scholars examining its philosophical underpinnings and its intersection with anarchism and environmental ethics. These discussions often tread a fine line, acknowledging the importance of addressing the questions Kaczynski raised while unequivocally condemning his methods. Online, Kaczynski's legacy has taken on an unsettling life of its own. In certain internet communities, he is mythologized as a prophet who saw through the facade of progress. Memes, forums, and even manifestos inspired by his work circulate among a subset of users who view him as a symbol of resistance against the perceived dehumanization of modern life. This ironic, and at times trivializing, treatment of Kaczynski's ideology risks normalizing his extremist views. Yet, not all who engage with Kaczynski's ideas are extremists. His critique of industrial society resonates with those grappling with the unintended consequences of technological innovation. Climate change, deforestation, and the rise of automation have fueled growing anxieties about humanity's future. Kaczynski's warnings about the alienation and ecological harm caused by industrialization have, in some ways, become more relevant in an era defined by environmental crises and rapid technological change. This relevance has spurred renewed interest in his manifesto, particularly among younger generations searching for meaning in a rapidly changing world. However, this interest is fraught with moral and ethical dilemmas. Can Kaczynski's ideas be separated from his actions? Is it possible to engage with his critique of industrial society without legitimizing the violence he used to propagate it? The enduring fascination with Kaczynski raises broader questions about the relationship between ideology and action. While his manifesto critiques a system many view as flawed, his campaign of terror remains a stark reminder of the consequences of extremism. By turning his philosophy into a justification for violence, Kaczynski ensured that his ideas would forever be tainted by the blood of his victims. For law enforcement and counterterrorism experts, Kaczynski's case underscores the challenge of combating ideological extremism. His ability to inspire others, even from behind bars, highlights the power of radical ideas to persist and evolve. Preventing the spread of such ideologies requires not only vigilance but also a deeper understanding of the societal grievances that fuel them. In the case of Mangione, investigators were struck by how closely his writings mirrored Kaczynski's manifesto. Both men shared a profound distrust of industrial society and a belief that violence was a necessary means of resistance. This connection between past and present underscores the dangerous longevity of extremist ideologies. As we look at Kaczynski's legacy, it's impossible to ignore the broader cultural anxieties it reflects. His critique of industrial society taps into a deep unease about the cost of progress, a tension that continues to shape debates about technology, the environment, and human freedom. Despite his imprisonment, the questions Kaczynski raised remain unresolved. His manifesto serves as both a warning and a challenge, forcing society to confront the ethical dilemmas posed by technological advancement. Yet, as his story demonstrates, the search for answers must never come at the expense of innocent lives. The story of Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, offers a disturbing glimpse into how ideology, isolation, and extremism can converge to produce devastating consequences. As we look back on his campaign of terror and its ripple effects, one question looms large: how can society grapple with the balance between progress and the costs it imposes on humanity? Kaczynski's manifesto, Industrial Society and Its Future, forces a confrontation with uncomfortable truths. Many of the issues he raised, such as environmental degradation, the dehumanizing effects of technology, and the widening gap between human needs and industrial demands, are undeniably relevant. However, his descent into violence is a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked extremism and the seductive allure of absolutist thinking. In examining Kaczynski's legacy, we must also consider the societal conditions that allowed his ideology to resonate. The late 20th century, when Kaczynski began his campaign, was marked by rapid technological advancements and shifting cultural values. The rise of computers, automation, and corporate globalization created both opportunities and anxieties. For many, these changes symbolized progress. For others, like Kaczynski, they represented a profound loss of autonomy and humanity. This sense of alienation is not unique to Kaczynski. Across history, periods of technological and social upheaval have often produced backlash, as individuals and groups struggle to adapt to new realities. The Industrial Revolution, for example, gave rise to the Luddites, who destroyed machinery they believed was threatening their livelihoods. Similarly, the digital age has seen its share of resistance, from data privacy advocates to those opposing artificial intelligence and automation. What sets Kaczynski apart is his willingness to cross the line from critique to violence. His belief that industrial society could only be dismantled through terror turned an ideological critique into a campaign of destruction. His story serves as a cautionary tale about the consequences of allowing grievances to fester without addressing their root causes. In the years since his arrest, Kaczynski's influence has persisted in ways both overt and subtle. For some, his manifesto is a chilling prophecy about the dangers of unchecked technological progress. For others, it is a symbol of the darker side of human ingenuity, a reminder that the same intellect that drives innovation can also be used to justify unspeakable acts. One of the most troubling aspects of Kaczynski's legacy is how easily his ideas can be co-opted by others seeking to justify their own violence. Luigi Mangione, for example, drew heavily from Kaczynski's critique of industrial society. Mangione's writings reveal a man who, like Kaczynski, believed that modern civilization was on a path to self-destruction. While the specifics of his motives remain under investigation, it is clear that he saw himself as continuing Kaczynski's mission to disrupt the industrial order. For law enforcement and policymakers, the persistence of Kaczynski's ideology underscores the need to address the grievances that fuel extremism. This does not mean legitimizing his methods or excusing his crimes. Instead, it requires a nuanced approach that acknowledges the underlying issues while rejecting the violence used to address them. Education, dialogue, and community engagement are critical tools in this effort. By fostering open discussions about the ethical implications of technology, society can begin to address the concerns that drive individuals toward radicalization. Similarly, promoting mental health awareness and providing support for those struggling with isolation and disillusionment can help prevent the conditions that lead to extremism. Kaczynski's case also highlights the importance of early intervention. His descent into violence was preceded by years of academic success and personal turmoil. As a brilliant mathematician at the University of California, Berkeley, he was poised for a promising career. But his decision to retreat into isolation marked the beginning of his radicalization. Understanding these turning points can provide valuable insights into how individuals become extremists. At its core, the Unabomber story is a warning about the power of ideas and the responsibility that comes with them. Kaczynski's critique of industrial society, while thought-provoking, is forever tainted by the lives he took in its name. His manifesto, once a vehicle for expressing his beliefs, became a tool of terror. As society continues to grapple with the challenges of technological progress, the lessons of Kaczynski's life remain relevant. His story is a reminder of the importance of addressing grievances before they spiral into violence, of promoting ethical considerations in the pursuit of progress, and of ensuring that the voices of those feeling left behind are heard. In the next section, we'll examine the broader implications of Kaczynski's influence, including how his ideology has shaped contemporary debates about technology, freedom, and the human condition. We'll also explore the ethical dilemmas posed by engaging with his work and the responsibility society bears in preventing similar tragedies. As we close this exploration into the life and impact of Ted Kaczynski, it's clear that his legacy remains as unsettling as it is enduring. The Unabomber's campaign of terror, driven by a twisted fusion of ideology and violence, not only left a trail of devastation but also sparked debates that linger to this day. Kaczynski's manifesto, Industrial Society and Its Future, continues to provoke thought and controversy. For some, it is a dire warning about the cost of technological progress, a cautionary tale about the dangers of prioritizing innovation over humanity's well-being. For others, it serves as a chilling reminder of how radical ideas can be used to justify unthinkable violence. Regardless of perspective, the manifesto embodies the tension between progress and its unintended consequences, a tension that has only grown more pronounced in the decades since its publication. One of the most significant aspects of Kaczynski's legacy is the way his ideas have found a foothold in contemporary discourse. The rise of automation, artificial intelligence, and environmental crises has reignited debates about the balance between technological advancement and human freedom. These issues resonate with a new generation, many of whom are grappling with questions about the future of work, privacy, and ecological sustainability. Yet, while Kaczynski's critiques of industrial society may seem prescient, they cannot be disentangled from the violence that accompanied them. His actions, the lives he took, the fear he instilled, are a stark reminder of the human cost of extremism. For every philosophical point raised in his manifesto, there is a victim whose life was irreparably changed. The troubling influence of Kaczynski's ideology is evident in cases like Luigi Mangione, whose writings echoed the Unabomber's manifesto. Mangione's apparent admiration for Kaczynski's anti-industrial stance highlights the enduring appeal of radical ideologies, particularly among those disillusioned with modern society. His case serves as a sobering reminder that Kaczynski's ideas, though rooted in critique, continue to inspire violence. Beyond the individual cases, Kaczynski's legacy raises broader questions about the ethical implications of engaging with extremist ideologies. How can society address legitimate concerns about technology and progress without legitimizing the violence used to highlight them? Can the ideas within industrial society and its future be separated from the actions of its author? These questions remain as relevant today as they were during the height of Kaczynski's terror. The Unabomber story also underscores the importance of addressing the root causes of alienation and radicalization. Kaczynski's journey from brilliant mathematician to domestic terrorist highlights the dangers of isolation and untreated mental health struggles. His case serves as a warning about the potential consequences of ignoring those who feel disconnected from society and its values. In the broader context, Kaczynski's critique of industrial society forces a reckoning with the complexities of progress. Technological innovation has brought unprecedented convenience, efficiency, and connection, but it has also created new challenges, from climate change to economic inequality. The Unabomber's manifesto, despite its violent origins, resonates because it taps into a universal fear, the fear that progress may come at too high a cost. As we reflect on Kaczynski's legacy, it's crucial to remember the victims of his violence. Behind the debates about his manifesto and ideology are real people whose lives were forever changed by his actions. Their stories are a poignant reminder of the human cost of extremism, a cost that can never be justified or forgotten. In telling this story, we are reminded of the importance of vigilance, compassion, and critical thinking. The lessons of the Unabomber's life and legacy are not just about the dangers of extremism but also about the need to address the underlying issues that fuel it. By fostering dialogue, promoting understanding, and prioritizing the well-being of individuals and communities, society can work to prevent similar tragedies in the future. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of a dark chapter in history. We hope it has provided insight into the complexities of ideology, progress, and the human condition. If you found this story engaging, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth true crime documentaries. Together, we can continue to uncover the stories that shape our world.